Good morning, everybody. Today's topic is going to be 5 steps to a healthy gut. So, any of you who have come to see me or have heard my lectures, you've probably noticed that I spend a lot of time talking about the gut and the digestive process and how it affects your body. And we've discussed at length how about 70 to 80% of your body's immune system resides in your bowel. So we're going to talk a little bit. I'm going to give you a little bit of background on how your bowels work, and then I'm going to give you these 5 quick steps. So let's get into it. So your bowel, as you know, has a intimate interaction with the foods that you eat and the things that you take in your body. So your gut is lined with cells that interact with the bloodstream, and there's these little pockets called villi that aid in absorbing nutrients. And around these pockets are immune cells as well. So there's a constant monitoring of what's going in and out of your gut. Now, a lot of people, when they become unhealthy, one of the first things that happens is that their gut becomes unhealthy. Normally, your gut has these tight junctions like this, where food particles and toxins can't get from the gut into the bloodstream. But what happens over time from things that damage your gut, which we'll discuss, these junctions become a little loose. And now food particles can sneak in there, causing allergic reactions, and also toxins can also now get into your bloodstream and cause you to get ill. These toxins cause an inflammatory response, which can affect almost every organ, especially the brain, and as well as your metabolism. So these toxins also will go through your liver as well. So it's very important to really understand how this works before we move on. So the second thing that the gut does is obviously it aids in digestion and breakdown of your food. So a lot of people that I know are on proton pump inhibitors, whether it's Prevacid or Prilosec or Nexium. So proton pump inhibitors, what they do is they block your stomach's production of acid. Now, hydrochloric acid, which is produced in your stomach, is a very vital function in the digestion process. For example, you chew your food, which is how you get your food from a large particle to smaller particles. Most of us, including myself, don't chew our food nearly as well as we should. You should probably chew one bite about 15 to 20 times before you swallow it. And most of us don't. So now the only way that that food gets broken down then is in the stomach. The stomach kind of moves and churns, but there's an acid in your stomach that breaks down the food further so that the nutrients can be absorbed. When you block the hydrochloric acid production, you disable the body's ability to break down this food. So your digestive process is disrupted, and also your ability to absorb nutrients is also affected. So this becomes an important thing. Now, I know a lot of people suffer from reflux, but reflux in general is caused by poor diet choices and habits like smoking, excess caffeine, alcohol, and these are all modifiable factors. Unfortunately, a lot of docs just give a quick fix and say, here's a medication to treat your symptoms. Well, I practice as a clinical nutritionist and an integrative medicine specialist and a functional medicine specialist. And what functional medicine does is it looks at the root cause of what your problems are. So what you want to look at is why are you having these symptoms and what can we do to treat it naturally or just by modifying your lifestyle. So now let's get in. Now that you understand how the bowel works, let's get into the 5 steps to a healthy gut. So number 1 is remove the harmful. So what are the harmful things? What are the things that contribute to what this leaky gut is, where these junctions between the gut and the bloodstream are now wider than they should be and not as protective, so they become what we call a leaky gut. So the leaking is from the gut into the bloodstream. So grains like pasta and rice and things like that, bread are, especially when they're not organic, are very inflammatory foods. A lot of people are sensitive to gluten. They may not have celiac disease, but they are certainly sensitive to gluten. And so these these grains can cause damages to the cells. If you're going to eat pasta, try to eat at least non-GMO pasta or organic pasta, because the grains typically that we're really affected by are these genetically modified grains, which are very inflammatory. They're not the same. They're not the same as they were designed to be in nature, and they're heavily sprayed with pesticides, which we're going to get into as well. The second thing is processed foods. Try to eliminate as many processed foods as possible. Things that don't have more than one or two ingredients are processed. Things that have preservatives and additives to them. Things that have artificial colors and flavors to them. These are all things that damage your gut and therefore damage your immune system. Alcohol is another big one. Excessive amounts of alcohol. Dairy is another inflammatory food. When you really think about it, what other mammal drinks the milk of another mammal that's not related to it? It's not. It doesn't make a lot of sense intellectually that we should be drinking milk from a cow. So, in the sequela of that is that a lot of people are sensitive to dairy. Now, there's a lot of different ways you could be sensitive to dairy. Some people are allergic to the sugar in dairy or sensitive, which is called lactose. Lactose can produce a lot of gas and bloating, and you can take Lactaid, which helps break down the lactose, or you can get lactose-free dairy products. And then other people are allergic to the proteins in milk, which are casein and whey. So if you're allergic to the protein in milk or in dairy, there's not a lot you can do about that except for avoid it or limit exposure. And the last thing is pesticides. Pesticides are a huge, huge problem. There's been so many lawsuits now coming out with Monsanto, who was bought by Bayer. Genetically modified foods are being banned all over the world. The United States is one of the last countries to ban genetically modified foods. And these foods are damaging our immune systems. They're damaging our gut. They're causing cancer. They're causing chronic disease. So you have to really eliminate this from your diet. And how do we do that? You try to eat at least non-GMO foods, non-genetically modified foods, and organic produce. I talked about the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. You could look that up. It tells you the most heavily sprayed produce products to avoid and to buy organic. So you definitely want to look into avoiding pesticides. A lot of foods will have to contain the non-GMO label. So if you don't see that label, it means it probably has genetically modified ingredients and therefore has tons of pesticides in it, which are terrible for your body. Step 2 is replace the good. So you're going to eat non-GMO organic fruits and vegetables, pasteurized eggs, grass-fed meat and poultry, healthy fats like avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, nuts and seeds. And then prebiotic foods like onions and garlic, things that contain inulin, apple cider vinegar. These are all things that prebiotic foods are foods that create an environment for the bacteria, the good bacteria, to grow. So it's like if you had seeds in your hand, right, and you wanted to plant them, you wouldn't plant them on concrete, right? You would plant them in a nice, fertile soil that has nutrients in it. So if you're taking probiotics and your bowel is not receptive to them, it's, in other words, if you have an acidic environment or you have an unhealthy diet, or the amount of good yeast or bad yeast is in an imbalance, then the bacteria can't stick. So you have to eat these prebiotic foods to create an environment for probiotics to work. So then the next step to healthy gut is a good segue here, is adding good bacteria and yeast. The bacteria that live in your body actually outnumber the amount of cells in your body. It's called your microbiome. You have a microbiome on your skin. You have a microbiome in your gut. It's a very, very complex, sophisticated system that regulates everything from mood to heart rate to toxins to immune system. So your microbiome is one of the most important things that's happening in your body. When it gets disrupted, your health gets disrupted. So by adding good bacteria and yeast to your diet, and you could eat fermented foods. It's not as effective as taking probiotics, but you want to get yourself a good probiotic And then there's good yeast. Like one good yeast that you could have is Saccharomyces boulardii, which is sold also in a refrigerated section. So that's the kind of yeast that actually polices the overgrowth of Candida, which is a bad yeast. So that's another step you can take. And then the fourth step is repair your gut lining. So luckily, our gut lining is repaired through stem cells like every 4 to 5 days, or the lining of our gut, which is similar to the lining of the inside of your mouth. If you feel what the inside of your mouth feels like, that's what the inside of your gut is like. It's very delicate. If you've ever bitten the side of your mouth, you know how it gets inflamed and how delicate the tissue is there. So when you have damaging foods, it's going to inflame that tissue. So the way that you could repair that is two things are bone broth. If you've ever tried that, you can make your own, you can purchase it, and L-glutamine, which is a really good amino acid that helps create a great environment for the bacteria to grow, and as well as healing the lining of your gut. So now let's get to the fifth step, which is relax. So stress, let's talk about stress. Stress causes release of cortisol. Cortisol has an inflammatory, cortisol does a lot of damaging things to your body, but one of the things is it causes inflammation, especially in your gut. It affects your blood sugar. High blood sugars also affect your health. We know about diabetes, and we know about but high blood sugar also damages the inside of your blood vessels. So managing stress will also heal your gut. There's a big connection between the brain and gut. If you want to get some interesting reading, start reading about the gut-brain connection. Think what's going on in your gut affects your brain. What's going on in your brain affects your gut. There are a lot of people out there that have gut issues, and one of the first questions we ask them is, what's going on in your life? If you come to a good functional medicine doctor, you'll do a really extensive history, which is like no other history you've ever taken. It's going to go from birth all the way to the present time, and we're going to try to create a timeline of everything that's been happening in your life and why it's happening. Try to put a sequence together as cause and effect. Well, why did this start happening? When did this start happening? And how did it start happening? And our role is to put that information all together and then treat it naturally with food, with exercise, with supplementation. Almost every disorder known to man can be treated in this fashion. There are a lot of natural antibiotics out there as well. Like, for example, berberine, if you look that up. Oregano oil is one of the most powerful antibiotics known to man, and it will actually kill some resistant strains of strep and staph. So there are natural treatments that are available out there without harming your body. Don't be a victim of just accepting your bad health. Do something about it. Come see a good functional medicine nutritionist or doctor, which we have both available in our office. We are the Holistic Body Center. We're located in Colts Neck, New Jersey. But for those of you that are watching from other areas, we do consult online and over the phone. So if you're interested in getting your health together, definitely come see us. I really appreciate all of the views that I get and the comments and questions. Please keep going with those things and give us a like if you like our content, and definitely share it as well. I wish everybody a great Saturday and a great weekend. We'll see you next time.